Jai Hind, everybody. I think there are two areas in the world which are drawing the attention in a big way. Initially, these were related to the conflict. We were often talking about the Russia-Ukraine conflict, Israel-Hamas conflict, and things like that. But nowadays, the attention has shifted to whatever is being done by Trump with his interfaces with different countries in the world. And second, a major thing which is happening is in the West Asia. And I think the Russia-Ukraine and number of related issues, to my mind, may get settled in the near future. But the complexities and the issues which are coming to the fore in West Asia are going to be very complicated. And it is very important, therefore, for us to understand, what is, happening in West Asia and what is the problem we have. We couldn't have, got a better person than Gen Jagatbir to speak to us on that particular subject. He has written a lot on that, various countries, Syria and everywhere, and various other kind of things. In fact, once you read his articles, it's an eye opener that a person who is not aware about the content, he becomes crystal clear. My senior and a dear friend, and today, sir, it is a great day. Today we are completing 1 year of our Thursday lectures. So we are very fortunate to have a person of your experience delivering that lecture. So before I invite you, I would request KJ to introduce you, and then you go ahead.
Thank you very much, Ashok. Very kind of you, and it's honor and privilege for me to be here in CENJOWS, especially when Ashok is heading this.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. It is my privilege to introduce today's esteemed speaker, Maj Gen Jagatbir Singh, VSM. The General Officer was commissioned in 18 Cavalry in December 1981. A regiment he subsequently commanded. A second generation officer, he is alumni of Doon School, Dehradun and St. Stephen College, Delhi. During his 38 years of service in Army, he had various command, staff, and instructional appointments and served in various. He also served in United Nations peacekeeping mission as a military observer in Iraq and Kuwait in the period between two Gulf Wars. Amongst his command appointment, he commanded an armored regiment, armored brigade, and as a part of Desert Corps, where he was responsible for conversion of brigade to Arjun tanks, and the prestigious 1st Armored Division as a part of Strike Corps. He served as a brigade major of a mountain brigade, which was actively involved in insurgency operations in the Northeast, served in MS branch in Army headquarters, dealing with the career management of officer, and has been a director of Thai Services Institute at headquarters Integrated Defense. He has also been posted to Indian Military Academy in Dehradun as an instructor and served 2 tenures, one as an instructor and one as a senior instructor in Defense Service Staff College, Wellington. He retired in February 2018 as a Director General Resettlement under Ministry of Defense. He is a prolific writer with his articles having been published in various newspapers, journals, and magazines. He also writes for Salute magazine, and has also co-authored a book, Armor 1971, and co-edited a book, Valor and Honor, Indian Army Through the Ages. He is presently a distinguished fellow at USA. With this introduction, I hand over to Maj Gen Jagatbir Singh for his talk.
Adios, sir. Thank you very much, Ashok, for calling me here today and to CENJOWS, and compliments on your first anniversary of the Thursday talk. And thank you very much, KJ, for the very kind words of introduction. It is indeed, as I said, an honor and privilege for me to be here with all of you today to speaking up on a topic which Ashok has rightly pointed out. It's always been at the focus of everybody, West Asia. It's a region. It's quite a big region, so I won't concentrate on the entire region as such. I'll concentrate on 2-3 current flashpoints. But this region is extremely important. So I'll give a little bit of a background into the complexities of the region, and then we'll concentrate on the current event and how we see them moving forward. So as you're all aware, West Asia has always been in the news, but not for the right reasons. It's there for violence, civil conflicts, terrorist attack, religious extremism, and there's been constant confrontation in the region, be it due to religious reasons, due to sectarian reasons, or due to ethnic divisions. Also in this region, the outside powers have had a major influence and they continue to hold a major. Earlier it was UK and France. Now it is mainly US. And of course, there's the hand of Russia and China becoming a major player in this region. But as I've said, this region is always at the crossroads of civilization. So you have the Ottoman Empire, you had the Persian Empire, and then you had the Mesopotamian. Plus, you have various people. You have Christians over there, you have Muslims, both Shia and Sunnis, and you have the Jews. So this is what they call the Abrahamic religions over here. So some countries have it all mixed. Some have one or two. Some Sunnis are dominating. Some Shias are dominating. But there's an interesting mix in this area. So that's how people have got divided. So when you say, there are types of people, so they are the Persians, they're the Turks, and they're the Arabic. The Arabic, who we think are mainly Muslims, are actually composed of people of a particular region who are of all faiths. They're Muslims, they're Christians, they were Jews, but now, of course, things are changing. Another interesting region is, except for Iran, who's had a traditional boundary, bulk of these boundaries of countries have been changing over the years. So these boundaries have been changing, and a lot of them have been forced boundaries imposed on these countries post World War I. That is, these 2 or 3 agreements, have shaped this region. The Balfour Agreement, the Sykes-Picot Agreement, and the mandates. I mean, these 3. So even even Iraq, what you see is an artificial boundary, because what was decided earlier was the northern part, which is Kurdistan, Mosul, and all, was to be part of Syria. But later on, when the British discovered there's oil over there, they said, oh, this will be part of Iraq, because Iraq came under the rule of the British. So this is, they think. Apart from this, there are various types of rules over here. The rulers, I mean, the systems of governance. So we have monarchies, which are still there. And the monarchies depend a lot on the clergy to support their policies. And they depend a lot on the oil money to, appease their population. But to ensure that they remain in place. Then you have democracies, like Israel is a democracy. So many other countries are democracies. Then you have nationalist government. So, I mean, they're a mixture of various people. And then, of course, you have the religious leaders who are ruling. For example, Iran. So, as I told you, they're Arabs, they're Persians, they're Jews, the Turks, and these people have lived in this area, and earlier they interacted with each other, and they have their own dynamics. So things moved at a particular place, but after World War I, things started changing. Once the Ottoman Empire receded, once the British defeated them, and then they got the Arabs in prominent place. So, I mean, that's all history. But the other important thing is that this, as far as India is concerned, is at the crossroad, because all our trade passes through this. And the most important thing is the change which has taken place in this region due to the discovery of oil. So there are certain parts of this which have become countries which are extremely rich because of their oil and gas. And some of them are Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq. These 3 are the major, and of course you have the UAE. So I mean, these are all there. And then you have countries which are developed as financial capitals. That is Dubai and places like that, the GCC countries, they are far out of everything. And then you have highly innovative and developed industries in a place like Israel, where they're going for defense industries. So I mean, there's a huge gambit, there's a diversity that is existing. So you have deserts at one stage, you have mountains somewhere, you have the coastal areas, and then you have these, mega cities somewhere. Now, in most places, when colonialism took place, they left the place and left it to be like it. But what happened is that in this area, when the colonialism left, when rule finished, they handed over the country to somebody else. And that's where the trouble started. And that is the state of Israel from Palestine. Now, that wound problem is over 100 years old, and it's still something which is not yet been solved. So a lot of the issues come from that. So as I told you earlier, these monarchies were earlier heads of large tribes. They owed their, allegiance to these large tribes who support them. But apart from that, they also have to pander to the clergy. So an Arab state has been defined by someone as a state which is a fair state, but they also depend on coercion of its citizens. And you've seen it happening time and time again. I've lived in Kuwait as part of a UN thing, and I've seen how well a citizen can be looked after, provided he doesn't raise his voice against criticizing the government. So if you're not criticizing the government, not doing anything, so that independence of freedom of speech, what we talk about, is not there. And they've got very, very firm tribal loyalty. So when I was there, Saddam was ruling, and Saddam was a Sunni from Tikrit. So anybody from his area was considered to be, had the passport for everything. But the majority of the population was Shia. Now in Syria, you saw the opposite happening, where Assad family ruled for 53 years. They came from a small group called the Alawites, but the majority of the population was Sunni. In Iran, it is Shia dominated. In Saudi Arabia, it is Sunni dominated. So you have these interplays of various things. And because of this, various countries support various terrorist groups which are affiliated, which Iran has been supporting. Hezbollah is a totally Shia group, whereas the Hamas is a Sunni group. Now, US wanted the Saddam government to go and get in, Shias in place, which is there, but you've seen what sort of government is there. Now, today what is happening is, apart from all this, Turkey is now reasserting itself and wanting to get back to the glory of the Ottoman Empire. Like Russia wants to get back to the glory of Imperial Russia. In this side, Turkey now wants to get back to the glory of the Ottoman Empire. And Israel has always, everybody has many opinions about Israel. But if you look at it, the bulk of the land of Palestine was owned by the Palestinian Arabs at that time. The Jews were a small minority. When the problems took place of the Jews being persecuted in Europe, instead of settling them in Europe, bulk of the Jews were persecuted in Eastern Europe. That's why bulk of them speak this Yiddish language, which is I'm not Urdu actually. So instead of settling them in Europe or Britain or somewhere, they felt that no, they should come to their promised land, which is Israel, and they were given that land. So there was this constant interplay, and you've seen how the Palestinians who were there have slowly been squeezed, and they were finally left with two areas, West Bank and Gaza Strip. And earlier also, if you go into the history of the Palestinians, earlier, who was the person in charge of the main group was the so-called PLO, or the Fatah was that thing, and headed by Yasser Arafat. Now the Israelis had a problem with them. They were pushed to various places. They went to Lebanon, they went to Jordan, they went to Tunisia. Finally, they started prompting Hamas in its place to counter Arafat. Today, what has happened? They're back to supporting Palestinian Authority, which owes its roots to the Fatah. And the person, Mahmoud, the president, was numbered to replace Yasser Arafat. So today they want him at the forefront, and Hamas is the bad boy. So this is there. It's a troubled region, very troubled region, but it's a very influential region of the world. So as I've said, over the past 15 years, it's been racked by war, destruction, displacement. So you have hundreds and thousands of people who have died fighting in various places, be it Gaza, be it Lebanon, be it Iraq, be it Syria. Lebanon itself is a different story altogether, because it's bulk of the people, it's a very strange system, because they have what they call the confessional system of democracy. All the religions that confess, so they have representatives. So the president must always be a Christian. The vice president must be, the prime minister must be a Sunni, somebody must be a Shia, vice president. So that's how they do it. So it's extremely complicated. And they had a Christian majority here. That's why France wanted it. And they are not, they have two people who we don't find anywhere else in the world. And the Christians over here are known as the Maronites, and the part of the Muslims are known as Jews. So you have the Jews influence and you have the Maronite influence. So they had their own groups, but that's going into it. So as I said, right now what we've seen is two major issues which have taken place here. The first is the 7th October attack, which took place in Israel, which everybody is well aware of. And the second issue is what happened in December last year, is the collapse of the Syrian empire. And coupled with that, the fallout has been on Lebanon. So I'll concentrate on these 2 or 3 regions. So as I've always said, the war in Gaza has proved especially devastating. It has set back everything as far as the territory was concerned, as far as the local were concerned. And they actually shattered societies today over there. But it's also upset the Israelis because they had one vision of themselves as being, Israelis felt they were the victims, but Israelis also had a vision of themselves that they were always backed by the US, and they had this technology in place to ensure that nothing happened. They were guarded in a way. They had extreme, security. Their fence was the smart fence, so to say, and nobody knows how this, attack took place. So I was fortunate. I met an Israeli person about 2 weeks ago who was part of their, I mean, they never say it openly, but part of the intelligence, and he was part of the cyber thing, that Unit 8200, and he had come for a talk in Delhi last week. So I asked him, I said, you have so much surveillance, you had so many systems, you had, regular patrolling, the whole fences manned, you had intelligence, yet this took place. So he said it was a human failure. So I mean, it's very easy to finally come down to human failure. But as I said, the main problem here is, how you get out of this and how do you move forward in this region. So I'll cover each one of these slowly, but the biggest problems is that there are large number of what we call proxy conflicts taking place. So nobody fights directly. Iran took on Israel through their proxies, which are the 3 H's, the Hamas, the Hezbollah, and the Houthis. So they used them to, tackle Israel. This was the first time that missiles were changed between them, because there's a large border between them. They are separated by Syria and Iraq. But they had this land route through Syria, which is now collapsed because of the, Hezbollah. So there was actually lack of what I've said always is there was a lack of, a clear balance of power, and there were always protracted conflicts, and there were unresolved disputes. And bulk of the reason why the disputes were unresolved is because of the rigidity of the position of the opposing parties. No one wants to give anything away. So when we come later, when I start discussing where are we today, you again see what are the problems happening in Israel today after the ceasefire. So there were sectarian divides, there were identity politics. And these all were used by the outside players to fuel, and to keep themselves in relevance in the region. And also used by the people in power, the political people in power, to mobilize their support and to consolidate their power. So you had earlier a thing known as the rise of Arab nationalism. They were, large intellectuals, major intellectuals like Al-Nusri, who talked of Arab nationalism, how, the Arabs must move forward, how you need to reinterpret the holy books so that they are relevant as far as modern days of science and all are concerned, and how, Arabs must have their own nationalism. That's why at one stage you saw, Egypt and Syria and all were part of what they call UAR, United Arab Republic. They did that experiment also. And then you had the reformist parties that came in, the Ba'athist parties, which came in Iraq, which came in Syria. But in spite of all this, you had these authoritarian regimes which carried on for many, many years. So these are the issues which are there in the region. And there was inequality, there's been corruption, and there's also political marginalization. Apart from that, there's shortage, except for oil, there's shortage of other resources. So climate change will affect them in a great degree. There's desertification, water scarcity, so all this is there. But yet some places were very wealthy, some are not, because some are blessed with oil and water. Some only have oil, some have, water. So I mean, that's what is going. Now, if you go back to the Israel-Gaza conflict, which I'll just touch upon very briefly, during President Donald Trump's first, presidency, he was hell-bent on pushing what they call Abraham's Accord, where he wanted the Abrahamic religions to get together. So Saudi had not signed it. You know, other countries were, going towards it, Bahrain, Morocco, and the UAE. And he started the flights and all that. But the next one was Saudi. Now, there's a feeling, it may not be entirely correct, but there's a very strong feeling that Palestinians at this stage felt that their cause would be lost with this Abraham Accord state. And that is one of the principal reasons why they launched the 7th October attack. This is what they feel. But everybody knows that what happened on 7th October. Everyone knows that after 7th October, how Israel has taken various actions against the Hamas, against the Hezbollah, against Iran. And as a result, the Hamas leadership has been, totally decapitated. The Hezbollah has almost ceased to exist. And they had what at one stage a multi-front conflict going on. They had almost 5 or 6 fronts. If you look at Gaza, if you look at West Bank, if you look at Lebanon, if you look at Hezbollah, if you look at Houthis, if you look at their problem with Iran. So, I mean, just see how many fronts the Israelis were engaging with. And the 7th front was, of course, their problem with Syria. And what they've done after that, we'll come to later. So, at one stage, Israel was viewed, in one manner, but today a lot of people view Israel as an aggressor. So in the Arab world, Israel is now being viewed very differently to what earlier people thought. But yes, there is this so-called axis of resistance, axis of evil, that has been prevented from causing any more substantial damage in the years ahead. So, but the most radical actor now is in the so-called West Asia, Middle East, is Israel, as per me. Because everyone thought it was Iran, and Iran would do this, that. But today, Iran and Saudi also had a rapprochement last year, and that was fueled mainly by China. So now you come to the problem of where are we in Israel today as far as the war goes. So what has happened is you had the war and you had a ceasefire. The ceasefire, 42 days was phase 1. After that, the phase 2 has not yet taken place. After that, there are varied, things within Israel and within the Gazans regarding the future of. Everyone thought that Israel, there's still a strong number of people who are supportive of the war. Whereas in Gaza, people felt that the Palestinians would be fed up of the war and they would not want to continue. They'd be willing for everything. But in recent surveys, it's quite surprising that Hamas still has support. And why they have support is because the Palestinians feel if Hamas goes, there is no one to protect them and they will be left homeless. So we are stuck at this. Where are we? What are we? And what are the immediate solutions on offer? Now, as per records, there are 59 hostages left. Now, how many of them are dead? How many of them are alive? Nobody knows. And these 59 include 5 American hostages. So the whole game is now of returning of these hostages and getting some sort of peace. But every time the rules of the game are changed. So Israel's thing was that we have phase 1 and in phase 2 you return the other and we will return prisoners and we will start pulling back. Now they are saying you return the hostages and we want Hamas to stop existing as an organization. And they have not given any commitment of when the Israeli troops will pull back out of Gaza. So this is where they are stuck. Now, with this, I think they had talks yesterday also, day before also. And yesterday or day before, there were for the first time talks which were held with US and Hamas in Doha. Now, this was even done without the Israelis knowing about it fully, but it's now out in the open domain. And that was for release of the hostages. But last time, President Trump has said that, you return all the hostages, otherwise I will bomb the hell out of it. I mean, this is where we stand now. So he's willing to do that. Now, on the other side, he made a plan and he made it publicized that what we'll do is that all the Palestinians should be subsumed into some other countries. So Jordan should take some, Egypt should take some, others should just find their way wherever. And it is their responsibility to take these Palestinians, and they will then in turn develop Gaza, and Gaza will become what they call the Riviera. And but minus the Palestinians. In other words, what he's trying to say is that this whole thing will go to Israel and the Israelis will develop it. Now, that was one thing. But Colonel Rajiv Agarwal, when he spoke at Clause last week, he said that, that may be his ploy to get concessions out of the Arabs to wake up and do something. So that's another viewpoint. Now, yesterday before, there was a meeting in Cairo where the Arab League got together. And when the Arab League got together, they have made a plan, which is a $53 billion plan over 3 stages. The first stage is, of course, to clear the rubble. There's God knows how many million tons, 50 million tons of rubble like that. Houses have been destroyed. People are, out in the open. So first you have to clear the rubble. Then you have to make temporary shelters. Then you have to reconstruct. All this cannot be done immediately. Next thing, where will you chuck the rubble? So people are saying that the rubble will be chucked in the sea next to that, so that they reclaim the land and Gaza will become wider. So that's one thing. Now, 53 billion, where is that money going to come from? Is it going to come from the Arab world? Is it going to come from UN? Is it going to come from international donations? Is it going to come from Israel? I mean, that's a huge question out in the open. So, okay, it's a large sum of money, but ultimately it has to be there. So they want to build this area without displacing the Palestinians. Now, Israel and America are not agreeing with that. Now, coupled with that is, so far in this first phase, they had allowed food, and medicines and humanitarian aid to come in. Now they've blocked that. Later stage, they say Israelis have said, we will block your water and we will block your electricity. So you can imagine 2.2 billion people living in a small strip of land, being denied of all basics. Children are dying, they are elderly people across all ages, across all, So what is going to happen? So everybody feels this Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, he's going to expect it to go to the Middle East next week to try to extend the ceasefire between the Israel and Hamas. But everybody is deeply divided of how to, advance in this. And bulk of the, people are, there are red lines everywhere. So the Israeli red line is Hamas must withdraw, must deposit its arm, and then come out. So in the meantime, the question is that whichever group comes in, how it comes in, who's going to be responsible to oversee this? Who's going to see to the police? Is there going to be an international force? Is it going to be a US-led force? Are US going to put troops over there? Is it going to be the Israelis who the Gazans aid? Is it going to be Palestinian Authority which will be given the responsibility, which is what has been mooted by the Arab League, so to say? So this whole thing is a little complex. But apart from the Americans, the main player now who can only guide this, as per me, and I may be wrong, is the Saudi leadership under MBS. I mean, that's the only guy who can do it. And for them, it's a huge thing that if they can show leadership for the Arab world in resolving this conflict, this is the time for them to come to the fore. And he can do it. So, and he's got good relations with US and they're wanting to mend fences. But Saudis also said until this problem is resolved, we'll not go in for Abraham's Accord with Israel. So, for President Trump, maybe this could be some sort of, solution. to get everything on his way. That means he has the Abraham's Accord in place, he has Saudi with him, he has Israel and Saudi together, and this Gaza thing may be resolved. So, I mean, this is something that is there. We don't know how it will come out, but there are many, many things which are there in this complex region, which, slowly. Now, at the beginning of the war, Israel said three things. They want to destroy the government and military capabilities of Hamas. They want to bring all Israeli captives home, and they want to eliminate all security threats from Gaza. As the war progressed, they added one more thing, and that is they wanted to get the people who had been displaced in northern Israel back to southern Lebanon, that region. So that's why they attacked Lebanon. Now, out of these, if you look, they were surprised actually when the first hostage exchange took place, because everyone thought that the Hamas would come out as totally morale low, and suddenly you see these guys with masks in proper uniforms, proper weapons, looking, absolutely alert. So I mean that shook them. So that means there's still support and there's still people in Hamas. So what is going to happen there? As I said, all captives have not come home. 59 have come home. And have they eliminated all security threats? Because as I've said, unless you go into the root cause, what happened the next generation, they've seen a lot of suffering. So what will happen over there, nobody knows. So surprisingly, the Israel military chief resigned at the end, finally, because he claimed some sort of responsibility. But the new chief who gave a statement yesterday, Ayal Zamir, had said that, he vowed to lead military to victory and quickly bring home all the captives. So again, he's talking of war. So he said our moral duty is clear, bring everyone back home in any way possible and as quickly as possible. And he also said Israeli societies must all participate in this, hinting that the, so-called ultra-Orthodox Jewish community who said we cannot be part of the army because our way of praying and all that, we have to follow that. We can't be ruled by army timing, are not part of it. He's trying to say that you should go there. But what has happened is Israelis' continual territorial expansion is damaging peace in this region. And Israel has to commit to end any further territorial expansion. Otherwise, it is a serious obstacle for peace. So I mean, one thing I look at it in three ways. Firstly, how do you look after the people in Gaza right now, humanitarianly? Right? Secondly, you have to resolve this issue of reconstruction of Gaza, the peace process. And the third thing is Israel has to stop the expansion. And what you've seen is last week, for the first time in over 20 years, tanks went into West Bank. So, I mean, this is the complexity over here. The next country I'll talk about quickly is, Syria. And you saw what happened in Syria when the regime fell over there. So today, the area is, on paper, everyone says the HTS is there. Now, there's a huge story of how the HTS came, how Turkey backed it. But today, if you look at it, there are various. There's the HTS present over there. There are rebels which are backed by US. There are rebels backed by Turkey, and there are ISIS still operating in pockets. Apart from that, you have Russians over there in two bases. They're confined. You have US troops stationed over there, and you have Turkish troops stationed over there. And now to compound all this, Israel is coming in a big way over here. So it's captured what they call the Golan Heights, stretched forward and captured a river where the dam is there, where all the water and electricity goes into Jordan. So I mean, just see how complicated this region is. Now there are 2-3 issues regarding Syria. And one of the first issues is that you have come out of a conflict like this, yet you've not controlled the whole region. So how is this going to fall in place? How is HTS going to control everything? Who is going to back it? The second issue is that there are large number of Syrians who are very upset with the previous regime. So they feel that people are missing, people have been tortured, people have been mistreated. So how do you take action against those people who have done it. Now, do you do it fast? Do you do it slowly? Where are your courts? Who do you believe? So these are all things which are there. And the third thing is that they are still under sanctions. So when will they remove the sanction? Now, this group, HTS, owed its origins to the Al-Qaeda. So are they still considered as a terrorist group? They were, banned as a terrorist group. Yet European Union has gone there. Their leaders have met them. American people have met them. But, the Arab Spring, what people talked about, when you disrupt somebody, remove somebody, what is the alternative? And you've seen the alternatives never worked in Egypt when Mubarak went. The alternatives never worked in Libya when Gaddafi went. The alternatives never worked in Tunisia when Ben Ali went. And the alternatives never worked in Iraq when Saddam went. So what is going to happen here? Who is going to be the person who's going to rule Syria? Now, Syria is again a very different country from the other Arab world because Syria is also mixed. Though the Sunnis are in majority, you have a large number of Shia population, but you have a large number of Christians. And apart from that, and you also have the Jews and the Maronite, the Jews over there. Today, Israel is saying they are going into Syria to defend the Druze. That's the statement they gave yesterday. So when you have these people there, and another thing you had is that women had a prominent place over there. So there's no ban on education, there's no burqa system. So they were part of, government, they were in professors, they were in all streams over there. So, how do you do it? So what exactly is going to happen? Because the HTS is now mainly a party which is based on the Sunnis. So what is going to happen here? Though I said it's in a dominant position, it has not yet got full control of all levers of power. Syria has many, many problems, and more than 90% of their population is below the poverty line. The economy is shattered and basic infrastructure is in ruins. So, that is how it is. Their new leaders, including Shara, who is now the interim president, and Mohammed al-Bashir, the transitional prime minister, must contend with remnant cells of ISIS, like I said. Now, the Americans said that their group of the Kurds who they had put up were to counter the ISIS. But in the last 5 years, how many have they actually, been able to eliminate? They're still very much there. The other thing I talked about was transitional justice, or how judicial tools can be used to address legacies of the past conflicts, and especially regarding human rights abuses. Because the public demand for accountability is high and the evidence is still accessible. But measures imposed too quickly or with shaky institutions would lead to outcomes that lack fairness and transparency. Now, in Iraq, what happened? Baathification rushed to implement certain, mechanisms, but it lacked the overall thing, and there's a lot of problems over there. So what happened? A lot of qualified workers, qualified people were also removed. So you imagine, like say you have doctors, you have university, you have an army, what do you do with them? You can't say everybody was, owed its allegiance to Assad, so now they were running a country. So this is something, it is there. Apart from that, they had a meeting in February to try and decide a new constitution. Day before yesterday, they announced a 7-member committee. But in one day, you can't just have a new constitution. It takes time. And how do you do it? How will you do it? So, these are all, problems. It was called the National Dialogue Conference. And as I said, the other issue which is extremely, upsetting is today, Israel decided to take advantage of the flux in Syria. So they went into Golan Heights, they captured certain areas, and they are constantly targeting military infrastructure. But they prefer to have a weak Syria over there. The present government has said categorically that we are willing to hand over all our chemical weapons. So that is not a problem. But they are targeting all the other things also. So Israel has conducted new airstrikes on the coast, and ground raids are there. And since December, they have carried out hundreds of airstrikes, and they are saying it's aimed at preventing weapons falling into what it considers as potentially hostile hands. And it's this aggressive military campaign of theirs is, sees that 5-decade-old buffer zone, 74, that, buffer zone took place. 2024 is no longer existing. And it is proactively upping the ante in the region, trying to eliminate any potential risk. And they are willing to take a lot of risks in doing that and push the envelope in more ways than they have in the past. And now, because of this, there's a confrontation which I've written about between Turkey and Israel. Because Turkish troops are backing HTS, Israel is entered here. So the next confront between Turkey and Israel will take place in Syria. Golanites have talked about. Russia still has their air base, they still have their shipping base. Erdogan is an extremely strong person, and in fact, coming to this in December, he even made a statement when he went to some university town to speak over there. They asked him that we want Jerusalem, and he said, "Be patient, we'll get you Jerusalem." So just see the statements coming out from Erdogan. He wants that. The other issue is the return of the refugees. So there are 20 million Syrians and 8 million apart from that are abroad. So when will they come back? How will they come back? There are pressures of the refugees in Turkey, there are pressures of refugees in Jordan, there are pressures of refugees in Europe, Germany and such like places. Now you can imagine some of these are political refugees, they will come back to get, but a normal person who's a Syrian, his house is damaged, his livelihood is gone. Now he's settled in Europe. Will he come back, or would he like to stay on over there and have a better life? It's a question. So when will this Syria become possible, reach a state when their refugees can be pushed back into Syria? For that, again, you need money. Who will give them the money? Because presently it is a government which is, your EU has lifted some sanctions, but not fully. So there is something else to do. So as I said, the Syria's new leaders have a monumental task ahead of them. They need to bring the state administration back, to work with all its diversity, feed the population, reconstruct infrastructure and housing, reform the security sector, and adopt a clear stance against terrorism, regain control of their land, organize a process of transitional justice, and balance the ambitions of their foreign partners, which are, all these 3-4 countries which are there. Now, Iran has taken a backseat in Syria. Russia has taken a backseat in Syria. The main two actors in Syria today are Turkey and the US. And of course, Israel. Now, the third country you come to is actually a case study in what has happened opposite. And that country is Lebanon. As I told you, Lebanon was formed after this World War II. A lot of Christians over there. Lebanon has suffered over the years. It was earlier, Beirut was, the Paris of the East. Very, very sophisticated type of society existed, very, highly, they were intellectuals, a lot of writings came out of there. There are all sorts of people. In fact, one of the favorite authors I have, Khalil Gibran, is a Lebanese. So, Edward Saad is origin Lebanese, who's written so much on Middle East and West Asia. But after all the trouble that took place, with the PLO coming there, the wars that took place, the Intifada that took place, it was totally a troubled, broken society. And you saw to the extent of the damage taking place that, they even had a warehouse full of chemicals blowing up in Beirut, and large number of people died. But what has happened is, after the Hezbollah has been, reduced in its capability, capacity, the Lebanese armed forces have now come to be. They had a president who was finally announced. So, for 2 years, they had no president. And now that General Joseph Aoun has come in as the president, the armed forces have come back. Earlier, who was controlling it? The Hezbollah. Hezbollah had all the strings. Nasrallah had all the strings. So, initially, they were co-taught by Hezbollah. But now, for the first time, earlier, whenever the president used to speak, the prime minister used to speak, he used to say the people, the army, and the resistance. But this time, his statement omitted the phrase and highlighted all the other priorities of Lebanon: financial reform, judicial reform, appointments based on, merit, transparency, and a complete Israeli withdrawal from occupied Lebanese territory to the south. That is on the Litani River. That's what they want over there. And the main challenge for Lebanon is twofold. One is Their main challenge is how to force or implement the ceasefire with Israel to ensure that Israel withdraws. And the second challenge, and which if they do, then it's on the ascendancy again, is to ensure that Hezbollah is fully disarmed. Now, this is something which is there. Today, more favorable states of affair is existing as a result of mainly Israel's large, resounding victory on the battlefield. And slowly they are returning to the international forum. They are able to connect with, the other Sunni countries around the world, strengthen its ties with Europe, and perhaps may even join the Abraham Accords. I don't know. But since the early 2000s, Lebanon has been held hostage by the Hezbollah. Today, that has gone. And as I said, the main reason of this is because of the destruction of the axis of evil. And so to say, today, Lebanon stands at a cusp of a major win in the Middle East. The other country which I want to briefly touch upon is Iran. Now, whatever anybody may say about Iran, the fact is that it's an old civilization. It's within its own borders. It's not an artificial border that was created. So they are very proud people, and they have they have natural resources, and they have backup of everything. So in spite of all the external pressure and its, limitations, yet it has military capabilities, and it also has the threat of their nuclear weapon. So everybody has said the axis is collapsed, axis of resistance is collapsed, but their supreme leader, Khamenei, asserted that such views are ignorant and wrong. The span of the axis would encompass the whole region, and it is not a hardware that can be destroyed. That's what he made a statement in December. So, I mean, they are hell-bent on kicking the US out of West Asia. So there's a confrontation between Israel, US, and Iran in this region. Apart from that, they also have suffered because of their air defense network having been beat. So now they're concentrating on how to, plug the loopholes in that. And they will always, I feel, leverage their nuclear threshold status. Now the options are that should Israel or America backing destroy these nuclear sites, what will happen? Or if they attempt to destroy it, will they be successful in destroying it? How deep within mountains are these? Nobody knows the answer. No one knows whether they've already achieved that nuclear, thing, or just a screwdriver away. Or if Israel takes action to do this, whether they will be egged to go nuclear. So, I mean, these are all things which are open in the thing. What has happened now is that significant issue is taking place within Iran, and that is that their interior economy minister, like finance minister, a guy called Abdul Nasser Hemati, was removed from office by 182 people supporting him because the sanctions are beginning to tell, and that the currency, which was earlier, in 2015 was 32,000 to a US dollar, is today 4,20,000 to a US dollar. So you just see the loss that, so dead. But apart from that, the other person who is resigned is the vice president, who is a guy called Javed. Now, this guy was the prominent face of Israel all over. Like Tariq Aziz used to be of Iraq, this guy was the prominent face of Israel. He was the one who was negotiating in JPCOA. He was the one who would talk to foreign affairs. And now they're saying that because his designation shows that the conservatives are back in power, gripping the Iranian society. So this is the problem over there. But for the time being, you see, the Iranians will always have functioned with, not directly, but always through their proxies. Now they still have control over proxies in Iraq. They still have control over proxies in Yemen, the Houthis, and these two are meeting with each other. The Iraqis and the Yemenites, they are meeting with each other. So they were targeted once by Saudi in Iraq last year, but I mean, this is there. So right now, signs indicate that US and Iran are headed towards some sort of confrontation unless they are successful diplomatic outcome. So, I mean, no one knows what will happen. When Trump was there earlier, he was the one who got out of the JCPOA. So he's quite anti-Iran. Now, as far as Iraq is concerned, we have seen some sort of degree of stability in the region, and this is mainly after the Americans are there. But despite the region all over being on fire as far as this is concerned, the Iraqis are presently staying away from everything, but they're having little issues with the Turks. So, and that is because of the support to the Kurds. So, I mean, the Kurds are one region which has never been left, but they were successful in Kurdistan because they were able to conduct elections over there. So that is something that took place. Parliamentary elections took place after 2 years. And, you know, there's the other problem in Iraq, which still remains, is the corruption in this high in government. So that is something over there. Now you come to Yemen. Yemen, you know exactly what is there. Exactly, it's divided between the Houthis and the Presidential Leadership Council, and you have one lot being supported by Saudi, the other lot by Iran. And these people have been, you know, significantly targeting shipping, which is, you know, affected the price of insurance because they want to support the Palestinians. Now, the other country, which is, you know, they don't have any major problems, is Saudi Arabia. They have different type of problems because they don't diversify their economy only from oil. They have a problem that the monarchy rules, but they don't have this type of violence and, you know, stuff like that, what is happening in countries like Iraq or Iran has gone through, what, you know, the Gazans have gone through. So and they've got a leadership role in the region because of their being the custodian of the two holy sites. And then you have, you know, the Gulf states. Again, we have India has very close relations with the Gulf states. But now a country which I want to talk to you about a little bit is Turkey. So Turkey has suddenly emerged as a very major player in it. And for us, this is some matter of concern because, you know, there's a very strong axis between Turkey, between Russia, Pakistan, and Iran. I mean, there's some sort of thing that can be built up on that route. But as far as Turkey is concerned, you know, everyone said, how has it come up into Syria? What did it do? Why did it, you know, why did Russia allow it to assert itself in Syria is a question which nobody's been able to answer fully. So one of the reasons they feel is Russia got totally diverted by their problem in Ukraine and they could not concentrate in Syria. And that's why they just, you know, Iran and Russia just took a back seat when the government fell. So what is the deadlock between these two is again a, you know, very tricky question of how to answer, where will you go? And the next issue I said is these statements coming out from Erdogan. Now, surprisingly, Turkey is a member of NATO. And yet, you can see that the tension building up between Israel and Turkey. And Israel is not a member of NATO, but it is supported and backed entirely by the US, which is, you know, one of the most powerful countries. And unless the US walks out of NATO, you know, NATO and US are the same thing. So, I mean, will US, whose side will it take if there's a conflict? Article 5, will it apply over here? I don't know. So this is the problem you have in Turkey. And they had various peace processes. They had, you know, the problem is they also have a lot of refugees. So where is the future of Turkey and how will it go? Right now, I think Turkey is the one which has benefited, like Lebanon, from this whole crisis. And now they're talking of getting the pipeline through Turkey. The pipeline from, you know, carrying gas, which was denied by Assad, Syria, Turkey onto Europe. So that's something over there. And the only problem that exists in Turkey is how do they deal with the Kurds. Now they've had a ceasefire with the Kurds on 1st of March. Yet a lot of the population of the Kurds feel that, can they place their faith in Turkey? That's something that needs to be seen. Now, what is the outside player today? The main outside player today who I've discussed throughout is US. And US believes that the foundations of a better West Asia involve weakening of Iran. US believes that the foundation of better West Asia involves Abraham Accord. US believes that the foundation of West Asia means Israel, strong Israel. I mean, these are facts which you can't go away. US earlier, UK was there controlling the Gulf and all, but today everything is controlled by US to a degree. So he is inheriting two ceasefire agreements, one between Lebanon and Israel, and the second one between Gaza and Israel. And you've seen what he's going to do. I'm sure he'll implement the first, but the second, he's been very categorical in saying that, I'll bomb the hell out of you. So, but his main aim, I feel, is wanting to expand the Abraham's Accord. So, I mean, this is something that is there. Russia, we've seen, I feel that it's too embroiled in Ukraine and in Europe, and that's why it has very, great limitations in this. And the other is, China. China started coming in a big way in this region, but China's coming in a big way as far as economic developing infrastructure, making countries dependent on it economically, developing roads, developing ports, developing infrastructure, supporting certainly, but it has never got involved in, supplying arms or, backing certain rebel organizations. But yes, in the years to come, if there's a standoff, I feel that China, Iran, Turkey, this and Pakistan, Afghanistan, this will be a common area for everybody. Now, India and West Asia, you're well aware of, so I won't go into that. But for us, we have our Prime Minister been very clear when he said that we do not support terrorism. But at the same time, we've done a balancing act and we say that we must respect the will of the Palestinian people. And we've always been pro-Palestinian. But for us, the challenges on the issues are many. So you have old friendship, old relationship with very many countries. And apart from that, you get all your energy resources from there. So that's the second. The third thing, which is extremely important, is your largest diaspora is in the West Asia. So, I mean, 66 of India's 1.34 crore NRIs are in this region. So their welfare, their security, their thing is important because you get a lot from that. Next for us is the regional connectivity. So earlier we talked of North-South Trade Corridor. Today we're talking of IMEC. So if Israel is back in power, and that map Netanyahu famously showed in UN, showed the IMEC corridor. I mean, what he talked of axis of evil, and the other axis he talked was absolutely the line of the IMEC corridor. So India also still got friendship with Iran. We still have that Char-Bar corridor, but our main focus is now going to be there. So for us, it's very difficult to navigate these complex regional dynamics and build coalition that can enhance our global standing on various other issues. Right now, we've had a very important visit by the Amir of Qatar. So each one of them, shows how strong India is. And with all these, we talk about strategic partnerships in these countries. And we always talk of maintaining, peace, prosperity, and stability in the region. I think these are our two lines which we speak everywhere we go as far as the West Asia is concerned. Next issue is that that some of these countries also we need to support us on Kashmir. Like Assad was a person who supported us on Kashmir, and Qatar is also there, saying that they will, as a go-to country, and it's played a. Qatar has also emerged as a country which is extremely important in international negotiations. They were the ones who hold the Doha talks with the Afghans. They are the ones who are hosting the talks with UAE and Hamas. The Israeli talks are there. this region, even the peace talks between, Russia and Ukraine were going to take place in Saudi Arabia and West Asia. So no, because no country in Europe is neutral. The only neutral country you have there is what you call Switzerland. So everybody is coming here, and Switzerland is not a major player which has the, any that sort of influence compared to Saudi. So they are coming here. Earlier, they used to go to other smaller countries. So this is, as I said, extremely important, influential region, and to be effective, the main issue I have said here is the regional mediators, regional actors must settle their own differences. There's too many escalating rivalries between over who will be the main player in the Arab area, in West Asia. And only if these countries sort out their differences can there be peace, lasting peace. The advantage of the outside powers is they have a leverage over some countries. So if they want, they can resolve issues. Like US may resolve the Israel-Lebanese issue. But otherwise, it has to be done there. To achieve stability, war-torn West Asia must shift course. The powers must stop papering over religion and local divisions and instead do the hard work of addressing them. At the heart of this region's conference are, questions of governance. Many countries have fractured or collapsed with competing centers of power, often dominated by particular ethnic or political groups. These societies need to come together. There needs to be a better regional security architecture. And there is certainly a new Middle East in the making, or new West Asia in the making. Yet without a political solution, reconstruction will do little in the long term. So you can build Gaza again, but if you're going to destroy it again, there'll be problems. So what is the point? I mean, it'll be rubble again. You cannot fix the power imbalances, ethnic tensions, or broken institutions that cause ongoing bloodshed. That has to be fixed. Because foreign powers must get the regional actors to work together instead of being at cross purposes. And I feel that peace, we are heading towards peace, but it's important that peace is sustained in this region, because often we've seen that when conflict dies down, it returns in a different form, like what happened in Palestine earlier. When the Palestinians went to Lebanon, they were defeated there. He was scattered all over. But again, they've come in a different form. So, I mean, this is what I have to say. I hope I haven't overshot. I mean, it's been very nice interacting with you. And I thought I'd cover the region, give a little background, and then concentrate on the, few aspects that are hogging the headlines today. Yeah. Thank you,
sir.